The crystalline spires of Zethkalar rose like frozen lightning against the amber sky, their surfaces humming with the accumulated wisdom of 10,000 years. In the heart of the great hatchery, where the future rulers of the ethereal empire took their first breath, an unprecedented silence had fallen. Commander Vexthul's 4 eyes tracked the small human who knelt beside the Primarch's egg. The creature, Marcus Chen, according to the translation matrix, was nothing more than a maintenance technician, captured during the Empire's annexation of the Sol system 3 cycles ago. Humans were considered barely sentient, useful only for menial labor and biological experimentation. Yet here was one, somehow past every security protocol, his bare hand pressed against the shell that contained the Empire's most sacred heir. The egg, pearl white and twice the size of a human torso, pulsed with an inner light that had been dormant for decades. The conclave of hierarchs had waited 70 years for the Primarch's heir to show signs of emergence. Countless ceremonies, ritual preparations, and scientific interventions had failed to coax the hatchling from its shell, until now. "Step away from the sacred vessel," Vexthul commanded, his vocal cords producing the harmonic frequencies that could shatter stone. The human looked up, his strange forward-facing eyes showing no fear, only a curious mixture of wonder and protectiveness. "It's scared," Marcus said simply, his words translated into the Empire's formal tongue. "It doesn't want to come out because it can sense all the expectations, all the weight you're putting on it. It's just a baby." The blasphemy of those words sent ripples of shock through the assembled hierarchs. High Matron Zelandra raised her ceremonial staff, its tip crackling with lethal energy. "You dare project emotions onto the Primarch's heir? Your species lacks even basic empathic resonance." But Marcus didn't move away. Instead, he began humming, a simple, wordless melody that seemed to emanate from deep in his chest. The human vocal range was limited, primitive, yet something about the sound made Vexthul's gill slits flutter in recognition. It was a lullaby, the commander realized, the kind of sound parent creatures made to comfort their young across countless worlds. The egg's pulse quickened. "Impossible," breathed Scholar Prime Thekmon, his sensory tendrils writhing in agitation. The hatchling shows no response to our most sophisticated harmonic matrices, yet it reacts to these crude vibrations. A hairline crack appeared along the egg's surface, following the rhythm of Marcus's gentle humming. Then another. The assembled ethereals watched in stunned silence as the shell began to fragment in perfect spirals, each piece glowing with residual life energy before dissolving into sparkling motes. What emerged defied every prediction the Empire's best minds had made. The hatchling was small, barely the size of Marcus's clenched fist, with translucent skin that revealed the delicate network of light channels beneath. Its limbs were impossibly fragile, and its large, multifaceted eyes held an ancient intelligence that seemed to take in everything at once. By all rights, it should have been magnificent, terrible, radiating the power that would one day command star systems. Instead, it mewed like a lost thing and crawled directly toward the human. Marcus cupped his hands, and the hatchling nestled into his palms without hesitation. The moment they touched, every monitoring device in the chamber erupted in cascading alarms. Energy readings spiked beyond measurement. The very air seemed to thicken with potential. "By the void," whispered Vexthul. "It's bonding." The imprinting, the sacred process by which a Primarch's heir chose its first advisor and protector, hadn't occurred in over 3 centuries. When it did happen, it was always with the most accomplished hierarchs, beings who had proven their worth through conquest and wisdom. Never with an alien, never with something so lesser. High Matron Zelandra's staff trembled in her grip. "This cannot stand. The bloodline must remain pure. The heir must be—" Her words died as the hatchling turned its gaze upon her. In that ancient look was the intelligence that made her feel suddenly, crushingly small. This was no mere infant. This was the genetic inheritor of beings who had ruled galaxies before her species had discovered fire. And it had chosen a human. "The implications are staggering," Thekmon muttered, his recording devices whirring frantically. "If the heir has truly imprinted on this creature, then according to the sacred codex, the human becomes untouchable," Vexthul finished. "Protected by imperial decree, and more than that, he becomes the heir's primary caretaker and advisor." The political ramifications crashed through the chamber like a tidal wave. An alien, a human, with direct access to the future ruler of the empire. The very thought should have been abhorrent, but the codex was absolute. Even the High Council could not overturn an imprinting. Marcus seemed oblivious to the chaos his presence had caused. He simply sat cross-legged on the crystal floor, allowing the hatchling to explore his hands with its tiny, grasping appendages. Occasionally he would hum again, and the infant would settle more contentedly into his palms. "What's its name?" Marcus asked suddenly. The question caught the ethereals off guard. Naming was a complex ritual that involved star charts, genetic analysis, and consultation with the oracle minds. It could take months to complete. "The heir will receive its designation once the proper ceremonies," Zelandra began. "That's not what I asked," Marcus interrupted gently. "What does it want to be called?" The hatchling chirped, a sound no imperial throat could produce, and Marcus nodded as if understanding perfectly. "Luna," he said. "It wants to be called Luna." The silence that followed was deafening. To name the heir after an obscure satellite of the human homeworld was beyond inappropriate. It was incomprehensible. Yet as Marcus spoke the name, the hatchling's skin flared with pleased light, and every monitoring device confirmed what the ethereals could hardly believe. The future Primarch had accepted its name. In the days that followed, as news of the imprinting spread throughout the Empire, something unprecedented began to happen. Conquered worlds that had been preparing rebellion suddenly went quiet, their populations watching and waiting. The Empire's enemies whispered of the human who had gentled the ungentleable, who had coaxed forth the air that their own species could not rouse. And in the great hatchery of Zeth-Kalar, Marcus Chen, former maintenance technician, now the most protected being in known space, continued to hum lullabies to the tiny creature that would one day inherit the stars. The Empire had ruled through fear for 10 millennia, but perhaps, Vexthul thought as he watched the unlikely pair, it was time to learn what humans called compassion. After all, the hatchling had chosen,